We've all dreamed of it, haven't we? Rummaging through a dusty, forgotten corner of a second-hand shop, the air thick with the smell of old books and furniture, and feeling that little spark. That electric tingle in your gut that says, wait, look at that. It's the treasure hunter's sixth sense, a whisper that tells you you've stumbled upon something special. For most of us, it remains a daydream. But for one engineer visiting the Antiques Roadshow at Newcastle Civic Centre, that dream wasn't just real. It was about to pay off in the most wonderful way. He brought his find to expert Adam Schoen, a man who, by his own admission, is a dedicated mountain biker. Schoen is used to the cutting edge, carbon fiber, lightweight aluminium, Kevlar. He knows technology. So you can imagine the scene, the cameras roll, the hopeful crowd presses in, and this guest presents, well, a bicycle. But not a sleek, modern machine. This thing was a relic. It was all wood and iron, with a patina of reddish-brown rust that spoke of long-forgotten years. Schoen couldn't help but laugh, his eyes twinkling as he looked at the guest. "I'm a really keen mountain biker," he began. "I'm used to carbon fiber, Kevlar, aluminium, and you bring me a rust bucket." He pointed at the object. "Where did you get your rust bucket?" The guest, far from being offended, just beamed. He knew he had a story, and this is where it gets good. The thrill of the hunt. "I got it from a house clearance shop in North Shields," the guest shared, his voice full of the joy of the memory. Luckily, he painted the picture for the expert and the audience. It wasn't in a display case. It wasn't polished and pristine. It was lying at the back of the shop beside this old sofa, he explained. And I just saw it lying there, and I had a feeling that it was going to be worth a bit of money. That glorious, undeniable feeling. But this guest was no fool. He was an engineer, a man of logic and process. He didn't just grab it and run to the counter. He went home and did his homework. "So what I did was," he said, "I did a little bit of research on the internet and I discovered there was one in America that was worth quite a bit of money." The spark had become a flame. He knew he had to have it. But how do you buy a potentially valuable antique without tipping off the seller? This is where the story becomes a masterclass in savvy hunting. "I thought, right, how am I going to get this on the tube?" He recounted, plotting his strategy. He couldn't just walk in and ask for the rusty bike. They might sense his excitement and hike the price. So he played it cool. He went back to the shop and gathered up a small collection of other items, lights and things like that, he said, making it look like a casual browse. He bundled all his chosen treasures together. The rusty bicycle almost an afterthought among the pile. "I made the guy an offer of £300 for the whole lot," he said. The deal was done. He got his treasure out of the shop. By his own calculations, after factoring in the other bits and bobs, the bicycle itself had cost him about £200. It was a £200 gamble on a feeling, a labor of love. The bike he brought home was a project. It was incomplete for one. It only had one handle. But as an engineer, the guest saw a problem to be solved. He didn't just stick any old thing on it. He found an old file handle, he explained. "So what I did was I drilled the end, carved it a bit, and varnished it." He made it whole again, using his own hands. The expert, Adam Schoen, was listening intently. He was no longer looking at a rust bucket. He was looking at a piece of history. "Just getting down to brass tacks," Schoen said, his tone shifting to one of deep fascination. "The bike is made of two things, wood and iron." He pointed to the guest's handiwork. Original handle there, and this one was an old file handle, the guest finished, proud of his work. "But what about the seat?" "And the seat looks a bit later," Schoen inquired. "Did you add that on?" "No," the guest said. "The seat was original but in a terrible state. It was covered in an old piece of cloth actually, and it was stapled on the bottom. Most people would have thrown it away, but this guest had fallen in love. I rather liked the wood," he said, "so I filled the wood worm holes in and cleaned it up and varnished it as well." He hadn't just bought this item, he had saved it. The expert's verdict? Schoen confessed his own initial reaction. "Well, when I first saw it," he admitted, "I really didn't know if it was a fake or whether it was real." But now he was convinced. He pointed to the frame. "Let's have a quick look just here and here. Two rivets which you can see are handmade." This is a hand-wrought bicycle. This was not a factory-line object. This was crafted. It's got tires made of iron, he continued, rapping his knuckles on the wheel.